Join this week when I make it into Newfoundland. I embed in the local community where I'm made king of all the Newfoundlanders. Combining some of our skills and madness with other cyclists, we have strength in numbers to explore Newfoundland, learning about local culture and history.
Made it to Newfoundland, and I've been carrying some quahog with me since New Brunswick, so I'm excited to give it a shot. Today is an ample day. It took about 7 hours of riding and 200 kilometers, so pretty good personal record there, I think. Break into some quahog. If I can break into some quahog. I can't break into some quahog. Oh, got it. Upon first scent, it is fishy. Upon first appearance, it is It's like rubber. I prefer lutefisk, I think. But seeing as I don't have anything else in my pack, bottoms up. Check this out. This is pretty cool. Look at how clear that is.
Do you like lichen? You might a little bit more. This is some dormant lichen here on the Arctic tundra in the park of Gros Morne. If we add just a little bit of water to this gray lichen, we'll see something magical. Immediately comes back into its active stage. It turns a bright green as it absorbs the water. The park itself was absolutely stunning, with views going along the craggy seascape all the way down to a dramatic cliff. Just a gorgeous park.
I'm walking around in Newfoundland, and if we crouch down and just look this way into the dark, there's sheep.
In April of 2014, a blue whale carcass washed upon the shore of Trout River. After a few weeks and much frustration as to how to deal with the carcass was finally towed away and brought to study at the University of Toronto, where it now resides. Locals have taken some of the bones and the remnants and have adorned local buildings. That evening, I went to celebrate Welcome Home Week with the residents of Trout River and went to the Lions Hall. Midway through my 5th plate of food, there was an announcement for me to come to the front of the room to be screeched. To be screeched is to become an honorary Newfoundlander. This is a process that varies slightly between the communities, but all involves the same ingredients of kissing a codfish, putting one foot in seawater, repeating Newfoundland slang, and drinking a swig of local rum called screech. When I was called up, I made it through the instructions and completed all the requirements, pausing for the longest time upon the repetition of Newfoundland slang terms. The accent in Trout River made it very hard for me to understand, but my phrase to repeat was "Bon, which translates to "Long may your big jib dry." When I inquired as to the meaning of this phrase, no one could tell me.
gonna drink the real screech now, folks. Just pay attention here. Watch his expression after he drinks this little shot of Newfoundland tea here. Ah, here he goes. Give him a hand. Yes. Give us back the card. There's your certificate. Yeah, it's kicking in now. Okay, here you go. Hold the card down the hatch. Yeah, piece of cake. You said, watch him, folks. Watch him when he falls down. Pick him up.
I received my citizenship paper that night. In honor of my newfound Newfoundland status, we danced. Traditional Newfoundland music is a blend between Gaelic and Celtic influences, often leaning more so on the Celtic. Music often includes a guitar, an accordion, and a hand percussive instrument. Dancers accompany the music and add a strong, stomping beat to complement the rhythm. Leaving the dance, a new Newfoundlander, an honorary Newfoundlander, and pretty much I'm king of the island at this point. I met up with Thomas and Alice. These are two individuals that I've been crossing paths with since the mainland, and they had a desire to go fishing. We got some cod hearts from this fisherman and set up camp right at the mouth of the bay, hoping to find some trout. One of the big celebrations for the town was a giant bingo with a jackpot of $1,000. My buddy Harry was doing the calling, and I had bragged all day long about how I was going to win, and no one else should bother to show up. But nobody believed me, and everybody showed up. It was amazing to see some of these women. They were like machines going, both hands operating those daubers. It took us 3 people to look over one sheet, and even that was a little bit sketchy at times. I was often distracted, trying to find out who to best befriend that had greater odds of winning the $1,000 jackpot. What does it look like when somebody wins the $1,000 jackpot? You'll soon find out. Look towards the right center.
72. Bengal cow, 72.
That was it.
I was at the bottom and I was joking with a tourist, a couple from Vancouver, about how if they saw me on the hill they should stop and toss me a water or a beer. I'm halfway up the hill and a car pulls over on the side, and out pops my hill godmother, and she delivers for me a banana, a Cliff Bar, and then she looks around and she reaches in her hat and she pulls out a beer. Oh, this is gonna be so good. The hill is 250 meters. It took me about 2 minutes to go down, and it took me about 21 minutes to come back up. I love it here.
It was sad parting ways with Thomas and Alice, but they did give me some soap that I used the next day when I met up with a man, Chris. And Chris had been doing the whole journey across Canada, starting in Vancouver. It was a huge treat to spend time with Chris, and we clicked pretty immediately, continued along our way together. Chris brought me to meet his grandfather, and we spent night camped outside of his grandfather's RV. It was really cool to be able to spend some time with Chris on the last leg of his journey and to be able to recharge with him for mine as well. It's very nice to travel with someone, and it's nice to travel with someone as cool as Chris, who dropped a rumor of 2 old men that were struggling their way along the trail. I didn't think that I would see them. Leaving in the morning, I saw 2 bikes outside of a Tim Hortons, and I met Parham and George inside. Chris had let me know how fast they were. I was keen not to be shown up by 2 geriatric gentlemen, and when we partnered up, it was my turn to set the pace, and I set up at a rapid clip. I was pleased until it was their turn to lead, and when George and Parham took the lead, the pace was then again quickened. This took turns for 2 hours as we all increased the pace and silently cursed each other. Finally, at a rest stop, we looked at one another and realized that it had become a pissing contest, and boys will be boys. We slackened and resumed at a much more comfortable pace. Passing Ben Affleck's boat in the harbor, we arrived at Fogo Island, presumably for the same reason that he came for the Fogo Island Folk Festival. We arrived just in time to see one of the last acts and to make the fireworks show. Setting up our tent directly behind the stage, we sat back, listened to the music, and hid from the fireworks. Unlike a typical show, the fireworks did not always go vertical. Many of them went off in a horizontal direction. Kids next to us counted 8. One of them even went off, entered the volunteer fireman's car, and exploded within the truck. The next morning, I woke up to explore the cultural sites.
By the early 1900s, nets like cod nets were an important part of Newfoundland fishery at places like Fogo. It's pretty important to keep the cod traps properly maintained, and sometimes large portions would become replaced, and this is by a process called knitting twine. It's usually carried out by the trap men in the winter and early spring. This was often done in the kitchen of a fisherman's home. A man with 2 traps might be knitting upwards of 100 pounds of twine, cotton twine, using a wooden needle. The knitter formed the sections of mesh by tightly wrapping the twine around a wooden card. Knitting twine was a family affair, and the kids often helped by refilling the needles with twine so that their father could work uninterrupted.
And this is a fishing stage. It's a outbuilding that would be used to process the fish. The fishermen would bring their catch to the stage, and then they would proceed to cut it. They would head it, take the stomach and all the innards out,
Right.
and then they would split it, which made it like this.
Okay.
Now this is heavy salted. So this, after 3 or 4 days, would be washed in salt water. So most of the salt would come off, and then put outside to dry in the sun.
Further drying.
This is just cured.
Okay.
So then once it's washed, most of the salt is off, and
Yeah.
they'll sit it outside for it to dry really hard.
How long will the process take from the entry of the fish to when it would
It's
head out to
probably a
Jamaica?
day if it. For that probably it could take as high as a month, because it would
Twice a
depend on how soon a boat would come.
Certainly.
And some of the things, these are the traps that they would have used back then. And we did a fisheries database, and some of the fishermen said they would put out 1 trap per year. If it was a bad year, they may put out the second one, but only in necessity. They would never fish more than they needed.
That's wonderful to hear.
Well, they were more conscious than we are, really. I mean, they reused everything. They, from paper that they brought their groceries home in, they would maybe even cover their school books with it.
I saw some of those books over at the library or at the schoolhouse.
schoolhouse.
That's incredible.
I know. You see, Newfoundland had its own arithmetic.
I saw that, like
Well,
Newfoundland arithmetic, Newfoundland geography, Newfoundland. What was the other one I saw? Newfoundland science.
Yeah, before 1949. See, we were our own little
Doing your own thing.
doing our own thing. Well,
I've seen some Union Jacks flying around too.
Oh yeah, my father swore by that flag. Because, I mean, most of Second World War, they went to fight under that flag, right?
Right.
So it had a lot of sentimental value for them. And this is what you call a stage hit.
Okay.
And the boats would come in, and you would have to, you'd learn to come up.
All right.
And the fish would be pronged up here, and you were supposed to get it in the eyes so you wouldn't ruin
Can't
the
take
fish.
the meat. Yeah.
Because everything was used. Even the bones and everything would be used for the gardens.
We've got some creamy coleslaw by request.
Oh.
We have Pillars, the finest Kubasau. We have Old Fort Farmer's Cheddar.
And George, what's your sort of cultural?
86-cent tomato. Sorry, Parham.
That's better than
What's your
85 cent.
cultural roots?
Ukrainian.
So I mean, you know your kielbasa if anybody does, right?
Yes, I've eaten my ton or so. Okay, these celery stalks. Okay, and we've got complimentary carrots with hardtack.
It's German bread.
German blend. Okay, so we're in good shape.
I think so.
With smothered in butter, and some of us get beer. So what else do you want?
And then you want to show us your injury?
No.
I was hoping you'd flick us off. I made it to Rogers Cove, Newfoundland, and I asked around for a spot to stay, and I made it to a restaurant, Angie's restaurant, and her sisters were there, and they brought me to Angie's house where I was told I could set up a tent. Well, Angie showed up and told me that my tent is not necessary because she's going to put me up in this for the night. This is the first time I've had a roof in about 12 days. And it's amazing. Not only that, but over here on the table, before I left the restaurant, I got set up with some famous chicken and homemade blueberry pie. Best part coming up. TV won't use it. Huge bed. There should be a light somewhere. Maybe there's not a light. I've never been in one of these. There's should be a light, right? Let's try it's not a clapper. What do you think a light would be? Oh. This part's pretty cool. It's got a light. Oh. There we go. I have a king bed. It's a full bed. And a shower.
As always, you can find me on social media at Cricket's Tales and cricketstales.com. Special thanks this week to all those who have helped make the journey much easier, to Angie and her family, to Chris, Tomas and Alice, Parham and George. It was nice to share the journey with each and every one of you. Join again next week as I make it further east across Newfoundland and take a detour down to France.
I'm not sure if I'm actually going to use this, but if you go down, it's been so long since I showered that I actually have belly button lint. Ah.